Welcome back to America Decides. It's not a surprise Vice President Harris is in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. What's interesting is where she's going and why. And for answers as to what that's about, I want to bring in CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, your friend and mine, Anthony Salvanto, to find out. Anthony, break it down.
Sure. Oh, I'm here at the map where you and I are going to spend quite a bit of time on election nights, I figured.
Hours upon hours.
Hours upon hours. All entertaining. All
yes,
entertaining.
all riveting.
Though, that goes without saying. So look, let's break out the map. The short answer to your question, Major, is that's where the votes are. In particular, for a Democrat, right? So if I pull up, let's say, the 2020 presidential race, where Biden won Wisconsin, and you see the red and you see the blue, but what I like to do, and we will do, is say, okay, let's make this map in 3D, and that the higher bars are going to represent more votes. And what you're going to see here when I do that is that in places like Milwaukee, in places like Madison, that's where you get large Democratic margins, right? So it's about turnout. In this case, you got 180,000 more votes for Joe Biden out of Milwaukee. Kamala Harris is going to need to replicate that in many ways, right, to offset how well Republicans do throughout so many other counties in the state. But there's another part of this, too, that I wonder about, and that is a lot of these areas around Milwaukee are Republican areas, as you can see in the map here. She's going to try maybe to pull off some of those Republican votes, maybe get some ticket splitters. We'll see how well she does. But what I want to do is show you guys then the way in which that might break down and the way in which she might be able to find ticket splitters. Let me pull this up here. Okay, this is the 2022 races in Wisconsin, and what you see doesn't look like big numbers, but you see that the Republican Senate candidate at the time ran ahead of the Republican gubernatorial candidate at the time. Does that tell you that there may be some Republicans willing to cross over and vote for a Democrat? Maybe the campaign thinks so, but that's what the numbers say, and that may be one reason why they go to a particular place, Major.
Anthony Salvanto, thank you. And a quick reminder, if you enjoy the takeout, as I know you do, Anthony Salvanto is our special guest this week. Check that out on all podcast platforms. I want to bring in our political panel, Shelby Talcott and Hugo Lowell. Shelby is a political reporter for Semafor. Hugo is a senior political correspondent for The Guardian. Hugo, I want to start with you. Great to have you here. You had a piece over the weekend about issues potentially for the Trump campaign in its canvassing, its get-out-the-vote efforts in Arizona and Nevada. Summarize those for the audience.
Yeah, so America PAC, which is Elon Musk's PAC, is effectively doing the brunt of the Trump campaign's ground game. They have by far the largest presence in each of the battleground states. And so, we decided to have a look at how effective that get-out-the-vote operation is going. And we effectively gained access to all of America PAC's back-end data through a bit of a leak in Arizona and Nevada. And what we found is roughly 20 to 25% of the doors numbers that they're supposedly hitting are being flagged internally as fake. That's basically where a canvasser goes up to a door and basically doesn't survey or reports it from miles away. And we found these instances of canvassers who effectively sitting half a mile down the road at a restaurant. One particular guy was at a Guayos on the Trail restaurant in Globe, Arizona, who was marking doors. And when you're having that rate of fake doors or frauding doors, that becomes a big problem. Just to put that number into context, America PAC's hitting about 35,000 doors a day in Arizona right now. About 8,500 of them are being flagged as fake. That's a lot of doors. I mean, if you think about the winning margins in some of these states, it's probably going to come down to 10,000 or so votes.
And Hugo, it's been my experience that this flag rate, even in well-organized and well-developed get-out-the-vote, door-knocking, canvassing campaigns, can be about 5%. 5% is what you sort of tolerate within a campaign. 20 to 25% would be borderline intolerable. You just don't know what's happening out there. You're blind a little bit.
I think that's fair, and it is very possible that the number is even higher and may get higher going into the election. America PAC is trying to ramp up its operations really quickly. They're trying to staff up, and they're turning a bit of a blind eye, as far as we can see, to some of the fraud that's going on because they're trying to hit these numbers. And if you're hitting more numbers, the rate also increases.
Was that leaked to you, do you believe, to surface this issue?
I think in part, look, part of this is definitely there are a number of canvassing sub-vendors that America PAC has outsourced this to, and there is definitely competition among the vendors because they all want the big contracts, and there is that possibility. But it is abundantly clear across the board that there are doors being faked and that this is now a problem that the Trump campaign is going to have to deal with.
Shelby, I want to talk to you about a fascinating piece you had in Semafor about the media strategy for the former president. Let's be honest about this. It disdains mainstream media. It considers us a borderline irrelevancy and embraces the bro podcast universe.
Yeah,
Explain more.
That's exactly right. So the Trump campaign, this entire cycle, has taken a really unique approach when it comes to media. And they've been focusing far less on broadcasters and cable news and far more on these podcasts like Theo Vaughn and Sean Ryan, these really big podcasts that are largely watched and listened to by males, which of course it makes up a big chunk of Donald Trump's base. And the argument I heard from the Trump campaign was they believe that a lot of viewers who traditionally would go to cable news now no longer trust cable news. And so they are leaving cable news and going to these independent podcasters and listening more to them. So they feel that it's more effective for them to sort of bypass the so-called mainstream media and just go right to these YouTubers.
Not to bore you with the history of broadcast television, but cable started as an alternative to the supposedly slow-witted, slow-footed mainstream media, but I digress. Shelby, what I found fascinating about your story, among other things, was the obsession, maybe that's too strong a word, that the Trump campaign has with the comment sections of these podcasts. Why do they care about that, and why are they confident that that's an indicator they ought to pay attention to?
Yeah, this was really interesting to me, too, because they kept essentially pointing back to the comments. They would say, well, if you look at Kamala Harris's Call Her Daddy comment section, 80% of them are negative. And if you look at our podcast with Theo Vaughn, almost 100% of them are positive. And so they argued to me that this essentially shows what real Americans are thinking when it comes to these podcasts. Now, I'm, of course, skeptical. They also talked a lot about the difference between YouTube views and broadcast views. Those are not necessarily comparable because you could watch a YouTube video for 3 or 4 seconds and it could count as a view, whereas those Nielsen numbers are done much more strictly. So it is an interesting comparison. I'm not sure that it is all accurate, but they are certainly making this a really big focus and they really like it.
Hugo, this seems to be combining two things, inferential data versus hard data. And that's also about what your story is a little bit about. Do you have hard data or do you have inferential data? And campaigns often are decided on the difference between the two.
Look, the data in terms of the number of potential doors is concrete, right? They are the numbers being flagged in what is internally called the unusual activity logs. Whether or not you can gauge based on that is
but sort of a meta thing for the Trump campaign. A lot of inferential data versus what the Harris campaign would tell you and tells anyone who talks to them for 5 seconds. Our data is hard. We know our GOTV is real. Our canvassers are real. Our literature is real. Our back-end information about the response that our canvassers get is real. We're constantly collecting it and updating it. They would argue that's an inherent strength of theirs.
But it's a sliding scale, right? Mm-hmm. In the previous iterations of Republican presidential campaigns, when you had RNC Victory, that was the RNC's program where you have ardent Republicans who are volunteers and going out of their way to try and do these get out of the vote efforts, these guys are hitting the doors. When you go to paid canvassers, it's subcontracted and subcontracted and subcontracted out. We've heard stories about people who are doing the get out the vote operation as part of America PAC's field operation. Some of these guys are magazine delivery guys or like paper delivery guys. They frankly don't care or are as invested as the volunteers who are knocking on doors. And so you look at the totality of this and you say, okay, you might have hit 35,000 doors, 8,000 of which are probably suspect. If it was the RNC program, you might be like, well, actually, the fraud might be lower. But with paid canvassers, you can probably expect that to be a lot higher.
And I think that's also why, in a lot of ways, this campaign that the Trump campaign is running is really unique, and it's sort of an experiment, right? The Trump campaign is outsourcing a lot of its ground game in a way that we really haven't seen before, and it's concerning some Republicans. We've both spoken to Republicans who are concerned about it, and in the same way, they're taking a unique approach to the media, and we don't know how those two things are going to end up, if it's going to work for them or if it's going to not, until after Election Day.
A word applied more than once to former President Trump, unique. Shelby Talcott, Hugo Lowell, thanks very much for your time.